Elon, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We feel very privileged. We're excited to have you. Right, so I'm going to start with some questions, and then we're going to open it up.
Currently the two leading centers for AI development are the San Francisco Bay Area and the sort of London area. And there are many other places where it's being done, but those are the two leading areas. So I think if the United States and the UK and China are sort of aligned on safety, that's all going to be a good thing. Because that's where the leadership is generally.
Actually, it's interesting, you mentioned China there. So I took a decision to invite China to Summit over the last couple of days. And it was not an easy decision. A lot of people criticized me for it. My view was, if you're going to try
it's essential. When I was in China earlier this year, my main subject of discussion with the leadership in China was AI safety, and saying that this is really something that they should care about, and they took it seriously, and you are too, which is great. And having them here, I think, was essential. Really, if they're not participants, it's pointless.
It's pointless. Yeah, no, it's point. And that's one of the benefits I'm most excited about. Like, when you look at the landscape of things that you see as possible, what is it that you are particularly?
But if you have a humanoid robot, it can basically chase you anywhere. So I think we should have some kind of hardwired local cutoff. That you can't update from the internet. So anything that can be software updated from the internet obviously can be overridden. But if you have a local sort of off switch where you perhaps say a keyword or something, and then that puts the robot into a safe state, some kind of localized safe state ability, an off switch, where you don't have to get too close to the robot. I don't know. So if we've got millions of these things going all over the place.
You're not selling it, just, like that.
No, I know. I'm saying this is something we should be quite concerned about, because if the robot can follow you anywhere, then, what if they just one day get a software update and they're not so friendly anymore? Then we've got a James Cameron movie on our hands.
It's actually, it's funny you saying that, because in our session that we had today, I would say they made exactly the same point, right, Dennis? So they're talking about movies, actually, without mentioning James Cameron, they're talking about James Cameron movies. But they're saying, if you think about it, it's not just those movies, but any of these movies, trains, subways, metros, cars, buses, they said all these movies with the same plot fundamentally all end with the person turning it off, right? Or finding a way to shut the thing down. And they were making the same point that you were about the importance of actual physical off switches. Yeah. And so all the technology is great, but fundamentally this same movie is played out 50 times. We've all watched it, and it all fundamentally, the point I'm referring to, right? It all ends in pretty much the same way, with someone finding a way to just do the thing. Which is kind of interesting that you said a similar point, right? Yeah. It's probably not the obvious place you'd go to, but it's still a concern. And what would your kind of observation be on AI and the impact on labor markets and people's jobs, and how they should feel about that as they think about this?
Well, I think we are seeing the most disruptive force in history here. Where we have for the first time, we will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human. And that, it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything. So I don't know if that makes people comfortable or uncomfortable. That's why I say if you wish for a magic genie, that gives you any wishes you want, and there's no limit. You don't have this three wish limit nonsense. You just have as many wishes as you want. It's both good and bad, and do that en masse. And practically the only way you'll be able to tell is that the grammar is too good. Dead giveaway. Yeah, I've been somewhat of a Cassandra for quite a while, where people would, I would tell people, like, we should really be concerned about AI. They'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, they've never really had any experience with AI. But since I was immersed in technology, I have been immersed in technology for a long time, I could see it coming. But I think this year there have been a number of of breakthroughs. I mean, the point at which someone can see a dynamically created video of themselves, like somebody can make a video of you saying anything in real time, or me. So there's sort of the deepfake videos, which are really incredibly good. In fact, sometimes more convincing than real ones. And deep real. And then obviously things like ChatGPT were quite remarkable. Now I saw GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3, GPT-4, the whole sort of lead up to that. So it was easy for me to kind of see where it's going. If you just sort of extrapolate the points on a curve and assume that trend will continue, then we will have profound artificial intelligence, and obviously at a level that far exceeds human intelligence. But I'm glad to see at this point that people are taking safety seriously, and I'd like to say thank you for holding this AI safety conference. I think actually it will go down in history as being very important. And I do think overall that the potential is there for artificial intelligence, AI, to have most likely a positive effect, and to create a future of abundance where there is no scarcity of goods and services. But it is somewhat of the magic genie problem, where if you have a magic genie that can grant all the wishes, usually those stories don't end well. Be careful what you wish for, including wishes.
What are the types of things governments like ours should be doing to manage and mitigate against those risks?
Well, I generally think that it is good for government to play a role when the public safety is at risk. So, really for the vast majority of software, the public safety is not at risk. I mean, if the app crashes on your phone or your laptop, it's not a massive catastrophe. But when you're talking about digital superintelligence, I think, which does pose a risk to the public, then there is a role for government to play to safeguard the interests of the public. And I think that's the right way to think about this, is for government to be a referee to make sure the sportsmanlike conduct and that the public safety is is addressed, that we care about the public safety. Because I think there might be at times too much optimism about technology, and I say that as a technologist. I mean, so I ought to know. And like I said, on balance, I think that the AI will be a force for good, most likely, but the probability of it going bad is not 0%.
Yeah.
So we just need to mitigate the downside potential.
And then how, you talk about referee, and that's what we're trying to create.
Right there. If China is not on board with AI safety, it's somewhat of a moot situation. The single biggest objection that I get to any kind of AI regulation or sort of safety controls are, well, China's not going to do it, and therefore they will just jump into the lead and exceed us all. But actually, China is willing to participate in AI safety, and thank you for inviting them. And they, I think we should thank China for attending. When I was in China earlier this year, my main subject of discussion with the leadership in China was AI safety, and saying that this is really something that they should care about, and they took it seriously, and you are too, which is great. And having them here, I think, was essential. Really, if they're not participants, it's pointless.
It's pointless.
Robots of any kind, even if they seem somewhat conventional, will be fine. I do think there is a safety concern, especially with humanoid robots, because at least the car can't chase you into this building, not very easily, or chase you up a tree, or you can sort of run up a flight of stairs and get away from a Tesla. I think there's a Stephen King movie about that. If your car gets possessed. But if you have a humanoid robot, it can basically chase you anywhere. So I think we should have some kind of hardwired local cutoff that you can't update from the internet. So anything that can be software updated from the internet obviously can be overridden. But if you have a local sort of off switch where you perhaps say a keyword or something, and then that puts the robot into a safe state, some kind of localized safe state ability, an off switch, where you don't have to get too close to the robot. I don't know. So if we've got millions of these things going all over the place.
You're not selling it, just, you know, like that.
No, I know. I'm saying this is something we should be quite concerned about, because if the robot can follow you anywhere, then, you know, what if they just one day get a software update and they're not so friendly anymore?